rights and privileges are under this Prop 8 arrangement, where it's quite obvious that the county has an obligation to reduce this tax burden when it's necessary. And I think that a lot of people are perhaps confused about how that works. So rather than have each and every one of them call Randy's office, I've set these meetings up so that at least those people that have confusion about it or would like to know exactly how it works, they can come to these two locations and find out about it. So Randy has they've been very gracious to make the time available on this. I want to thank you in advance for that, Randy. Thank you.
Does anybody else want that type of a setup?
Count me in for three.
For three? Okay.
Randy,
We'll talk.
where are these spread throughout the county, or there's few in Evans Pass and Northeast and more in Valley Springs?
All of the parameters.
But the actual reductions, do you find them having any regional?
I don't know if we looked at that, but my guess would be that high end Greenhorn Creek, Saddle Creek, Valley Springs area, and higher end properties that would
Randy, aren't you talking about homes that were constructed recently, relatively recently, other than homes that have been there for 30, 40, 50 years, but we have experience raising taxes at raising value?
they just sold, so say in 2000.
Normally it doesn't involve people that live in that same home or you're right.
They have a high basic value. They usually either build a lot. And you have a comment.
The answer to the question about the regional effects, we found the highest drops in the west end of the county, and we also saw that others had the most uptick when we were seeing the market go up. But we do have reductions, as Mr. Mercer said, throughout the county.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Other speakers on items not on the agenda?
Morning, Supervisors. My name is Larry Howland. I'm a resident of Wallace Lake Estates in Wallace, California. My comment this morning concerns an initiative petition regarding the Wallace Community Services District that I and two other proponents filed with the County Clerk Recorder on April 30th, 2008. I understand that today is the last day that the board can act to approve items that appear on the November ballot. And so that's why my presence is here today, because this is apparently not going to show up on the ballot. To be brief, the initiative petition was circulated following the guidelines of California Elections Code, sections 9300 through 9323, and was certified as qualified on May 8th of 2008. The WCSD was notified of the initiative status on May 15th of 2008. So far, so good. At the June 12th, 2008 WCSD board meeting, the initiative petition was discussed and voted on. The board voted to not adopt the petition and also voted to not put the initiative on the ballot. The latter vote is not permitted by Elections Code 9300, as the board does not have veto power over the initiative. It's up to district voters to decide the issue. At this point, this thing is totally insane. During the next week, in a conversation with the Clerk Recorder Office, I was informed that the initiative would not be placed on the ballot. I was stunned. How was it possible that an initiative certified by the Clerk Recorder as qualified not be allowed on the ballot? The answer, I believe, is simple. The County Council, whose sole task under Elections Code 9300 is to review and revise, if necessary, the WCSD attorney's, in quotes, impartial analysis of the initiative. The Council received what was termed as a courtesy telephone call from the WCSD attorney. Shortly after the telephone call, the Clerk Recorder decided not to place the initiative on the ballot. wow. Not only did the county council violate his duty under Elections Code 9300, he probably intimidated the clerk recorder not to do her job. The clerk recorder is not totally without fault and really should be my ally and advocate, not my opponent. While I do not know the nuts and bolts of bureaucratic procedure, I do expect that if I qualify an initiative for the ballot, that it gets on the ballot. I feel that my constitutional and civil rights have been trampled by these few county officers, and the democratic process of the law has been violated. These folks are making up the law as they go, ignoring the parts they don't like, functioning as judge and jury. None of this is permitted by Elections Code 9300. Today I ask that you correct this bureaucratic bungling and place this initiative on the ballot. Please instruct the clerk recorder to do her job as described by Elections Code 9300 without interference by county council. I know that this initiative is not on today's agenda. However, Brown Act, Section 54954.2B1 and 2 allows you to place an item on the agenda if there is a need for immediate action. Again, in closing, I qualified an initiative for the November ballot, and I expect it to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this, I'm curious because we've had a number of issues that have come up from road committees, CSAs, CSDs, neighborhood associations that where there were process issues that were in the domain of those jurisdictions, and I'd be interested to be informed about where the proper review of this would take place. Is it in the organization or is it properly before the board? I would ask the city county council.
The Wallace Board has a decision to make whether to adopt the ordinance or whether to put it on the ballot. The Wallace Board, on advice of their own independent private outsider from the council, denied it for reasons that we don't know. And I inform you by doing nothing, by advising the Wallace Board to do nothing, the outside council effectively derailed the petition, and so the petition remedy is to go to court, get rid of that evidence.
In relation to the association, not the county?
What county has nothing to do with it.
Just wanted to clarify that. I think that is the direction for remedy on this. I'm not sure we even have the capability.
That, sir, is not true, and he's making my point for me that he's making up the laws as he goes along. The two options that the board has are to adopt the initiative as written without alteration, or to send it up for election. By ignoring that, they effectively cancel out the will of the people of the state of California that passed this initiative statute, and just, common sense would say, why is the initiative statute on the boards if a agency that is subject to the initiative, all they have to say is, we're going to ignore this, and the thing goes away. There's nothing in that statute 9300 that says I have to sue anybody to get that on the ballot. That's insane.
Before we move to another topic, is there anybody who wishes to speak on this particular topic?
Catherine Jackson. I'm also from the Wallace Service Community District. This was no naive circulation of a petition to the people who are the resident ratepayers and taxpayers of that community. Signed were 122, verified by Karen Varney of 137 registered voters. Of that 122, 9 of us the Wallace Community Service District. There were underlying issues that were taken first to the sitting grand jury and ignored. We hope to resolve this fiscal management problem at a lower level. It wasn't done. It makes no logical sense that a council of a community service district can call a county and cancel out the voice of the people by mere phone call. Were that so, no initiative or referendum could ever be enacted against the 45 special districts we have in this county. The county itself has no authority over a special district. In the case of a utility district like Wallace Community Service District, the state forms those special districts, and the state ordains that it is the people who have oversight in that sphere of influence to influence the board if it goes awry. So that's all I wanted to add to it.
Thank you.
Can I ask David a question?
Sure.
Okay, David, I'm a little confused here. If you go to a petition process with an initiative on the ballot, why does the governing board have a veto right to that? I mean, if it's, we have the initiative of the state that can override the state legislature. We have the initiative process in the county that can override the board of supervisors, even if there's a majority that don't approve.
There's no sustainable veto process. The law is very clear.
So explain that to me again. It says citizens get a petition and do it right, you know, get the signatures and get 122 out of 136 if the latest comments were correct. But anyway, they get the signatures that are required to put the initiative on the ballot. And then why does the Community Services District Board of Directors, how can they have the ability to say no? Or is that not what you're saying?
You have to ask their attorneys. They got legal advice to say no, even though the statute says.
Why are we acknowledging, why are we giving to the district boards? How can the district board tell the county not to put it on the ballot if it's been correctly circulated and has the signatures?
Because the elections official cannot take any action unless the board of the special district takes the action to forward the values of the election official saying, please put this on the ballot. The elections official can't do anything unless their board tells her to put it on the ballot.
That defeats the whole petition process if the board, which is why they're doing the petition process, because the board is willing to vote the way the citizens would like them to vote. So they go out and get a petition, get the signatures necessary, if it's certified by the clerk, then how can the board just basically say, don't put it on the ballot?
I don't know, Tom. You have to ask their lawyers.
No, I mean, I don't care what their lawyer says. Why does, if their lawyer says, don't put it on the ballot, and the board says, we don't want it on the ballot, that defeats the point of having a petition process.
Exactly, and so if this is a county election, and the county, you guys decided to do nothing, then in a heartbeat, somebody would have a lawsuit and be asking the judge to direct the
It's like you should have to have a lawsuit if you've done the petition.
All right.
That's just the law.
So, is the law about justice?
So, what?
You know, it's not. So, I'm just telling you, that's the way it's set up.
I'm short of dealing with this as a question of law. Supervisor Tryon raises a question that's as fundamental in some ways, which is how do you protect democratic process in these circumstances where an agency has clearly failed to make one of its two legal choices? And is there anything we can do as a board to encourage them to allow the people of that neighborhood to have a say in on this topic? I'm pretty disturbed about this course of events, recognizing that you're advising us that it's not our jurisdiction and that we don't have a legal but do we have another role that we should exercise at this point? Like,
This is certainly sends, you can certainly send official correspondence expressing your displeasure if you very well.
I want to say strongly that I feel that this hasn't been, I know very little about this, but I do know petition processes, and I do know that in this particular case, they had only two choices as to either. So my personal view is that they should be encouraged to make one of those two choices in a timely way, which means, I suppose, today. I don't know how that message could be conveyed, but I would certainly like to see it done timely. Yes.
I want to add a little bit that may, what happened in legal is Karen Varney went to legal, legal responded back, she was sort of caught in the middle. We had asked originally, before we even circulated the petition, we had asked the election department to clarify certain codes, because as you read election code, it gets less restrictive. Fed, state, county, city, you go down to special district, and there's less restriction on the referendum. The problem was in the language of some of the codes. Any attorney would have been free, and we asked Karen Varney, get a legal opinion, because the word district council is used in places where they're really talking about county council or city council. And when you intermingle those, it makes no logical sense. We, as the ratepayer, would not have chosen to sue our own district. That's our dollar. That's what we were trying to protect in the first place. So no, we would not have chosen litigation. That's why you have an initiative. Legal counsel at the county level seemed to choose that the district had the power. The community service district attorney had the power to stop the county. We do not believe that's so, and that's what the whole confusion is about. But as of
There's
today,
basic disagreement here between two legal authorities. And my question is, oftentimes when you have a difference of opinion with authority levels that are more or less at a peer level, I'm wondering if short of an actual civil suit, if there is some decision-making legal body that is independent of either the district or this county, realizing that even the Attorney General just has an opinion, it's not an order. Is there some other third-party legal entity that is empowered to make this, not necessarily determination, but a definition here? Because we seem to be the loggerhead with opinions between two peer legal entities.
we went to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Private Association. They informed us they had sympathy with our issues, but they had limited legal staff and they were tied up in the courts already. One of them being the case in San Joaquin, very similar case you're reading about, that it would be well over a year to 2 years before they could give us legal opinion. So,
Have you attempted to contact the Secretary of State, or has either entity seem to have the umbrella of authority over elections?
If this were to be resolved within, say, this week, is today really a drop dead date, or is there any discretion to? Sir?
Just a couple things. I have repeatedly asked both the clerk recorder and nobody will let me talk to county council because I'm just a citizen. I'm not a board member or anything like that. But I've asked the clerk recorder to show me where in that elections code 9300, show me a phrase or a passage that says anything anywhere remotely resembling what Mr. Sirius has said about a lawsuit, civil suits, anything. There is absolutely nothing. And the county does have a responsibility in this area because the county elections official is mentioned numerous times in the statute as having a job to do. She is to, number one, contact the district's, the WCSD district's attorney, and that attorney, because the WCSD is a water district, that attorney has the option to write an impartial analysis of the initiative to be printed with the ballot. That's his job. If he declines that, then that job goes to county council. County council also has a responsibility that if the WCSD attorney does write a impartial analysis, the county council reviews and revises that. That's his only job. After that, he has no job. He can't tell anybody in any other place in government what to do, how to do it, or anything. His only job is to provide impartial analysis of the initiative. And then the clerk recorder has to set dates, timelines, a number of other things, that go along with putting this thing on the ballot. There's not one word in there that says I or anybody else has to sue to get an initiative on the ballot. Amazing thing.
All right, I have extended time on this due to the nature of the deadline today. Is there any other board at this point to suggest that we're going to do the approach?
Whose district is Wall Lake Estates in? Fine. Why don't you guys talk to Bill and
I have talked with Mr. Clay,
and with David, and because that strikes me as bizarre too. Once you've completed a legitimate petition process, that you didn't have to go to court, nothing more to get on the ballot. I mean, that may well be the law because it doesn't have to be rational.
I would like somebody to cite that law to me so I can.
That sounds rather bizarre to me.
Would that be a motion of the board to do that then?
We actually can't take action on it.
I think you need to talk to Bill and see where he's
Well,
going.
if today is the deadline, you can't put this on the agenda.
Well, does the board have to have it on the agenda during the complete petition process to put it on the ballot? Does that have to be done by the board?
The Wallace board?
No, this board.
This board doesn't.
If Wallace board has said, put it on the ballot, did it come to this board then, or it can't go?
It's already been received.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be acted upon by this board, so.
I was told that by the clerk recorder that this board listed things that went on the November ballot. That's the only reason I'm here. There's nothing in that statute that says the county board of supervisors has to approve anything. That sounds like it's an internal, function.
Karen's job is all ministerial. She gets the certified copies of the election, and then she and all these other duties of hers kick in. The board of supervisors doesn't really have any involvement other than when she brings in the packet saying which elections are taking place in
Okay,
November.
I know her job is ministerial, but it doesn't require action by this board for her to act.
No.
Okay.
I would ask that you instruct her to do her job as described in 9300, which she so far has yet to do.
I think she's trying to do her job. I think she's getting whipsawed a little bit here.
Well, that's why she told me that she does not know what to do. And she's an elections official, she's in charge of running the election, and if she doesn't know what to do, I don't know.
She's not an election law attorney.
It really doesn't sound like Karen Barney, that she does not know what to do. She's been there a long time. I'm sure that she had some dilemma here, and she exhausted whatever resources she could possibly find to make her decision. But I don't.
She told me that she sympathizes with my position. She told me
I'm
she
sure she
thinks
does.
that I'm correct.
But she is.
running into a problem that I'm having.
There you go.
So,
Let me ask one additional question. For some reason, Karen put it on the ballot. Would the Wallace Lake Estates board have recourse against the county for having done so?
Yeah, they would probably sue, and then the taxpayers would probably sue for waste of taxpayer funds, because she has no duty to do anything until their board takes action. So,
I want to go back to something I said earlier, which is that it may be, given the time, is the wrong thing to do to spend our time with the legal counsel, and that in fact what this is a decision of the Wallace Lake Estates WCSD. And toward that end, I'm asking what kind of conveyance might help leverage that organization to make a timely choice today. All the discussion about lawsuits, we'll know the answer in a year or two or three, but it seems that we have one day to try to figure this out in a way that gets something done. Again, I'm asking for any suggestions that might get us there. Is there any conveyance that can be made from this board within the parameters of what we can accomplish in this agenda item that would help move this to a reasonable and fair conclusion?
I don't know, I'm assuming that you've exhausted your communication with your board.
The board has made a decision not to do anything. And I, for one, can't see why the inaction of any party involved with this should stop the entire process. If the board doesn't want to respond in their allotted time, which is 10 days from presentation, then the clerk recorder should say, you guys had your chance, I'm proceeding, with what I have to do. And then she should send out her proper
Your
notice.
plight here, Mr. Holland, is well represented and appreciated. The fact is that we're trying to decide what is legal for this board, or for you, or for the county clerk to do. And we're relying on advice from counsel, like anyone would. So we're trying to find a way to bring this to a resolution. That's the reason for this.
I would be happy to meet with anybody to resolve this, if that is indeed possible. We need between Karen and David and you and, anybody else, I'd be happy to meet there. But I don't see why I should have to go through this machination because I qualified everything for the ballot. It should go on the ballot, without question. They're doing the same thing in the North San Joaquin Water Conservation District. The issues are similar. It's on the ballot. They don't seem to have a problem. I don't know that White Calaveras and San Joaquin counties, see things, totally different. The law is the same for both.
All right, I'm going to extend time further and ask that Karen Marnie come to the podium and express herself on the subject, but I unfortunately would like to also chime in with Bill and say that this is a person who just about always knows what she's doing, and this may be a very tough legal conundrum. It is something that we need to hear from her on. Thank you.
The only thing, thank you. The only thing that I wanted to clarify right now is that today was the deadline that we gave special districts to get their information to us to be able to put it on the board's agenda for consolidation. If it were found that we were to consolidate this, the board has coming up on the next Monday, or Tuesday, the next board meeting, and a resolution consolidating different special districts to go on the November ballot.
So, using an addendum
That's the only
process,
thing I wanted to-
conceivably, we would have a week to try to resolve this in a friendly manner.
That's the only thing I wanted to clarify, is that our
So
deadline
today is not.
is that we have to have everything to you by the 22nd, the meeting of the 22nd, if you were to order consolidation of special districts.
All right, I believe Supervisor Thomas wished to speak.
That was the question I wanted to ask, is if today was truly the drop date, but I would like to express my opinion that it seems rather paradoxical that the initiative process is supposed to be the mechanism to let people express their unwillingness to go along with a particular board's action, and it's going nowhere. It seems like that they have a preponderance of indication from the citizens that they would like things to go differently than the board has chosen to have them go. It just seems rather odd that they wouldn't have a chance to vote on it. So anyway, I hope that we can get a resolution on this before next week.
Toward that end, it would see if it's the sense of the board that we should send a conveyance, at least a request that this board make one of its two choices and let us know what that would be by next Monday. I think that would at least get started on a last-ditch attempt at dialogue. I don't know what the wish of the board is at this point.
Yeah,
It's Bill's district, and I'd like to hear from him.
Well, certainly there's been a lot of consternation over this. The board, let me ask if any Wallace Lake District board members here today. So, Mr. Holland, would you come up here, please? Sure. To give this board and perhaps those people that are interested in watching an idea of this difference that you're having with the board, can you briefly tell us what contacts, what arguments, what conversations you have had with that board, and what is the issue here?
Well, number one, the issue is not germane to the discussion because there is nothing in Elections Code 9300 that.
Let me put it this way then. Can you briefly tell us what this
So
initiative
briefly for your information, this is a water rate initiative. The folks in Wallace are upset that their rates are going sky high with no seeming end in sight, and that money is being spent unwisely.
So your initiative basically is an attempt to control the rise in the rates of domestic water supply.
That is correct.
And, well, you've had these discussions with the board about what I guess what I'm trying to ask is there any room for compromise between your stand and where the board is now?
We have attempted to do that. We had a meeting with the president and the vice president of the board about, I'd say a month or so ago, in order to try to resolve this. They were steadfast in not budging, one iota. So I don't see that there's, any wiggle room, on the board. They've taken a position that they're going to basically ignore this and move forward.
Okay, well, let me ask my board. I'm just slightly reluctant to ask for official communication from this board to that board, but I was fully understanding the ramifications of it. I'm not sure what to do. The discussion here today, regardless of what seems right and logical, I'm not convinced I know where we stand with regard to law. And I think that's a discussion that we need to have with perhaps our counsel or some representative from the Secretary of State's office. Given that, I would encourage this board to make such communication to that board. But I'm not
It seems to me rather than the board making it, you should.
I do that if that's
You should go down there and say it's the sense of this board, if you're supportive of it, it's the sense of our board that we want communication to you. We want to communicate, we want you to take a position one way or the other.
No, you might want to ask them. You might want to ask them what's your reason.
Exactly.
Okay. It might solve a lot of problems.
And David, if I understand correctly, they had two actions available to them.
Adopt the ordinance, reducing the fees, or forwarding the petition to the elections official for processing.
If they adopt it, then it's moved.
Yes.
It's enforced.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are their two actions now. They may have to call a special meeting or something. And all we can do is make a request. And if Bill's willing to go down and meet with them and make that request, and then we'll see what the response is. But I think you as citizens, you need to.
One final question, if they continue to ignore this, then what would your position be?
Well, I guess my position is to follow the law. And,
It's not like we have a choice.
Counsel for that. And I'm not an election law attorney. I'm not an attorney at all. And I have to be zip about election law. So someone's going to have to give some guidance to the board, and that would be county council.
Okay, I would encourage disinterested attorney to, since there seems to be a polarized opinion, that the county council's already made up his mind, that maybe a disinterested party, attorney in some other department or something, make that decision?
Well, I think we have a good county council. I'm not willing to ask county council to excuse themselves. So I'm not going to give the other board members.
Yeah. Mr. Holland, would you we have a very short agenda today. You can remain around to contact me or leave your contact information here with the clerk so that I may contact you in order to learn how to contact the chair of your board and those members.
Okay.
In fact, because item 8 is not on the agenda, this will be an extremely short, depending on how many more public comments we have. But I do think it makes sense because of the timing to stay around and try to work this thing through. Again, if this is going to be resolved in a timely way, I would believe that this would best be discussed in the realm of policy rather than law. I think we're going to have a real hard time getting a legal agreement between now and Monday. But there's certainly an opportunity for the fact finding that Bill's talking about and some effort after ascertaining that to convey the sentiments to the board, to your board.
Okay. I will not be able to stick around to do that. I'm for my business in Lockport already for half an hour, and it'll be another 45 before I get back there. I really need to get back there, but I can certainly make time available at some other point to discuss this. So I'll leave my phone and contact information. You can contact Catherine. She's got my name and number and everything, so we can get together in that manner.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who wish to speak on an item not on the agenda?
My name is Chris Williams. I'm from San Andreas. I'd just like to ask a question about procedure under the Brown Act here today. I know there's people here on items that want to be heard previous to item 10. And I don't want to slow them down. But the Brown Act requires that you allow public comments on closed session items, and I just want to confirm that you're going to do that.
We have allowed that, and we will do that today, and the time to do that would be under public comment.
Usually we get it right in front of the agenda.
Right in front of the agenda.
I think either way.
All right.
Okay, before item 10.
All right, we'll do it after correspondence and before item 10.
I have a clarification. Since when did we allow comments on closed session?
I don't know.
Mr. Williams wants to say anything, something that isn't on the agenda. It's fine, but closed session items are closed session items. They are not open for public comment on closed session. And
if there was,
I don't know where it is in the
Steve
Brown
as
Act.
chair made the decision that at an earlier meeting,
Yeah, he just made the comment, but there wasn't, I don't.
that the board would allow comments prior to going into closed session. That doesn't mean we have to respond to them, and that doesn't mean we have to say anything coming out of closed session that isn't required by law.
it's off, I've seen it happen before. You have an item that's clearly identified, particular labor negotiation session. I think people commented about that. But the one on today is really not appropriate because it's not appropriate because it's not a matter of.
If they want to comment, they can comment now.
Yeah.
But remember, I know Steve made that comment before because Mr. Kelly wanted it done. But I don't
Can't go
support
back.
And actually, I made that comment because I believe the public has a right to comment on matters that come up before the board. The county council is, however, suggesting that this item, because it is a personnel item, it's not even announced what personnel item it is, although there are many people that presume something. And that's,
without a particularly identifiable subject, I don't think it's appropriate to have any comment other than a public comment in general. Period.
All right, in that case,
But
I
that's the
will.
same thing, I mean, public comment.
Yes.
Public comments are under this, what's the difference?
Well, here's the difference, and I'm gonna take a chair's ruling on this. We will entertain, because it was not identified specifically, that means it's not on the agenda, and therefore, or at least whatever people might speculate may or may not be part of this. I will take the comment under public comment, which is up right now. All right, so on any topic that is not obviously on the agenda, I'll make that ruling from the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just,
Before you speak, let me just say that, we need to come up with a good policy here. I mean, I'm not comfortable with saying that the public can comment on closed sessions except when the board doesn't want any comment on closed sessions. I mean, the public either has a right to comment on closed sessions or let's not comment on closed sessions.
So you're talking about saying the capricious, he's not making a capricious statement, he's saying there's something identifiable, like I said, many closed sessions are.
You're leaving an awful lot of discretion to the board then as to when the public can speak and when the public can't speak. Either they need to know that they're speaking under public comments or they need to know consistently they can speak in front of a closed session, irregardless of what the closed session says today or any other. I mean, saying the same thing under public comments is in front of the closed session. I don't see what the difference is.
I think we should have a policy, we should make it clearer about the different circumstances that might arise, and under no circumstances should we make any effort to deny the public the right to speak on any issue that they wish to speak on, and I have made the chair's ruling that this is the appropriate moment for any items not clearly on the agenda. So whatever you may speak to, go ahead.
well, just with regard to the issue of the Brown Act, I think Supervisor Trine is correct. If you can get around having public comment just by the phraseology in casting the agenda item, then you're just getting around the Brown Act. And let me just read to you from the Attorney General's discussion of speaking before, taking public testimony before closed sessions. The public testimony requirement appears to apply to closed sessions as well as open meetings. Accordingly, this office believes that it would be prudent for legislative bodies to afford the public an opportunity to comment on closed session items prior to the body's adjournment into closed session. I've represented a lot of public entities, and that's what we have always done.
As we are today.
Well, immediately before that. Really, I'm not trying to make hard work of this. I was just trying to get the people up here who had a different item to talk about, but I can talk about mine now. I just would ask that hope that you have listened carefully to the public discussion, especially what happened last week, and that you don't misgauge the breadth of the opposition to the existing CDA director and to the things that have gone on in the CDA. The people that spoke before you last week weren't just getting up and defending the grand jury report. They were stating their own conclusions about what they had witnessed for the last 2 years. We want representation, not misrepresentation. We want representation, not dissension. We want representation and not misdirection. We want representation and not repression. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of that earlier issue I heard about, but again, it sounds to me like the voice of the people in a petition referendum mode have been squashed by the legal counsel's opinion of the board whose very action they're trying to get some relief from. And I'll tell you what, I personally feel that I have had no voice in this government. Nobody listens to the people. And it's time, and I hope you'll take that to heart. I mean, Mr. Claudino worries about sarcasm. Why shouldn't there be sarcasm at this point? You haven't done anything. You haven't done anything to remedy the situation. There's no leadership. Now, the last thing I would say is this is rumors. I've heard rumors that the board, if they actually consider termination of the CDA director, that they're looking for some severance package. If that isn't already in her contract, then don't do it. As a taxpayer, I ask you not to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I realize we get off on a different topic. Can I make one comment on a previous topic?
No, the answer is no, but you can come after this speaker.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm from Wallace, and I'm not gonna talk about the referendum, and I'm not gonna talk about water. Is that interesting?
Glad to see there's something new in Wallace.
Well, no, this isn't Wallace, this is you guys, and, I understand why the public is upset.
I'm sorry, could you identify yourself?
Jackie Neal from Wallace, I'm sorry. The public is upset, the downturn in the real estate market, the higher price of food and fuel, but this has gotten into shameful politics, and I would just ask this board and the people in the room to keep politics out of any decisions made. I have stood before the Planning Commission in direct opposition to what Stephanie Moreno was saying. I wanted a full IR. Yeah, she said, mitigated negative declaration, go. But she has, through the whole thing, given me the right to my opinion and given me time to state that opinion. And so she is listening to the public. And I'm just afraid that so much of this witch hunt is political, and I would just ask the board and some of the public to try to squelch that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Studley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just pondering the dilemma that seems to be posed to this board by the speaker 2 times ago now. I wonder if on the Wallace issue. I wonder if the matter might.
Could you also identify yourself?
I'm sorry. I'm David Studley. I live in Mountain Ridge. I'm wondering if the problem might be at least ameliorated if this board were to take the position that the failure of the water board to act in any manner tolls the statute for filing the petition, and therefore the board either could suspend its rules if it's a local ordinance, or if it's a state ordinance, could vote to extend the time to file that petition for 2 weeks until people can sit down and sort it all out and get both sides in with perhaps Supervisor Claudino or someone else. And it still wouldn't seem to me to eliminate the possibility that it could be put on the ballot if it were necessary. And if you need some authority to do that, you might conclude that the failure of the previous board to act within its time limits extended your time to act, and diffuse this situation before the expiration of time at the end of the day, if that in fact is true.
Looks like we got to a moment now.
Well, we have to consolidate it, so it has to be done by next Tuesday. I guess we get it wrong. We have to consolidate it with the election.
Other items from the public, please state your name for the record.
I'm Pat Bailey. I'm from Wallace, and of course you probably already know where I stand on the petition. I'm very disappointed that we were told we could not vote. That's enough of that. I don't want to give you whiplash, but I'm going to get back to Stephanie Moreno. She asked for an independent audit as one of her first acts when she came to Calaveras County. The Board of Supervisors approved spending the money for an independent auditor. The Board of Supervisors approved hiring personnel to help combine the planning and building departments into one well-run department. The Board of Supervisors approved offering incentives to get this help. The Board of Supervisors approved hiring Mintier to work on the general plan, but dumping all of this on the desk of one person, wanting it done yesterday, is unrealistic. Not giving support to make the changes necessary so that the broken checks and balances of Calaveras County will be open, transparent, and fair sets anyone up for failure. If you don't like the answers of any audit or anything that comes up, why does there always seem to be enough time and money given to do it again, but never enough time and money given to make it right the first time? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on an item not on the agenda or not apparently on the agenda?
I'm already out. Catherine Jackson, and you know I'm from Wallace. My issue is around the grand jury report, and there's no doubt that it's led to a crisis in this community and on the board and within departments, especially concerning the Board of Supervisors and the CDA director. I am a past member of a grand jury, and what I wanted to suggest is there needs to be some further dialogue and investigation in the grand jury process itself. I know we were trained to be 19 sitting grand jurors. Because the public is naive, training was offered, and that training included support from county council constantly at the will and request of the foreman, as well as any access to the presiding judge. I believe there's been a process failure that could have been a training error. It could have been that simple. But to see that, and they can vote as a majority to either accept or reject any complaint coming in. They certainly rejected mine. So the issue here before me is why would a sitting grand jury not identify the extreme divisiveness and political tone of certain requests that were coming into the board? So all I'm saying is while a grand jury has recommendations and the public eagerly awaits to hear the different departments and responses from the grand juror's recommendation, a grand jury never recommends to further investigate itself, especially to improve the following grand jury's year. So all I want is that our Board of Supervisors be able to conduct your business with civility and fearlessness in your own convictions and a tolerance of any opposing vote or viewpoint. This is the part that we do not want to see public transparency. If you need to duke it out somewhere else, get it out of your board and share it. Thank you.
That's the point. I believe we all take from
My name is Louis Boycano from Copperopolis, and I do have some prepared remarks, but given the context, I think modify them somewhat. My purpose in being here today was to express my dismay over the behavior, frankly, of some members of the Board of Supervisors at the last meeting. And I think comments that precede me are well taken. You proved to me earlier in the meeting with regard to the discussion on Wallace that you do have the ability to wrestle with difficult problems and be civil about it. And I would urge you to continue that behavior rather than engaging in accusations and so forth among yourselves, because it becomes, frankly, an embarrassment to the county and to this body. So to that end, I encourage you to engage in good behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, members of the board, I'm Jeff Davidson from Valley Springs. I just, last week I gave a statement on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. Today I'm going to speak for myself. You know, my comments are this. I think that there's, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that the personal accusations and things that have gone on here are really not an issue and really aren't my business, and I really don't care about that sort of thing. But I do care about whether or not we can continue to get capital investment in this county. We need it, clearly. And even though we're in a nationwide recession, I still believe it's the action of moratorium and other actions have reduced the capital investment in our community, and therefore creating as I called it before, an anti-business climate. And you don't have to be personally anti-business. That's not the issue. Is the work getting done? Is there capital investment? Just because you don't want to be anti-business doesn't mean you're not, because you have to actually do things to make it happen. And one of the problems that I'm having personally, and I've spoken to several of you supervisors directly about this, is I submitted a project that has a 17-acre commercial component on existing commercial property with water and sewer, and has a residential component, an R3 component, and it's a road between two highways where traffic backs up significantly every day during school. I submitted that project over 18, 19 months ago now, before the moratorium, and it was deemed complete by the county. Now, we contrary to some of the other developments that have been argued by here, requested to go into an immediate environmental impact report. We said that we wanted to waive the notice of determination to allow the board to decide whether or not they needed one. We requested it. And to this date, the county has not processed that and mailed out the notice of preparation so we can begin our environmental impact report. Since that time, 60 of the acres have burned down. and that's a side issue. It's just frustrating that so much time has gone by. Now, I spent last night looking through California Environmental Quality Act, and I'm sure most of you have studied the issue very well, but it seems to me it says 60 days. 60 days to get that thing out. And I just wonder if we can take a look at it and see how many projects are actually being processed in that time frame. Because it doesn't seem to say that there are wholesale exemptions from those rules. Now, there is protection of speedy processing. And when we're talking about multi-million-dollar investments, the money that's being in holding costs and interest payments for some are becoming too onerous, and projects are going to drop by the wayside. And then again, when we get a reputation for not being able to process something for 3 or 4 years, even relatively simple projects, and I'm not saying mine's simple, like I said before, we recognize there are impacts and we want to try to resolve them, but we can't even get to them. But if it takes 3 years to process a simple project, and I know that there's a project across the street from me, another commercial project that has a PD designation that has been over 24 months. It hasn't got to the planning commission. I understand it's finally agendized. I know it's been postponed because I get the notices. I know it's been postponed 3 or 4 times. This is not helping the economic development. So, while I think we just need to forget about the personal part of this argument, what I want to know is, and what I want you to consider is the work getting done? And I would just say for myself, I can't tell you that. I wish it were, but it's not. And so I just want you to consider that later today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carlos, and I'd like to just say something to Bill Padilla. Bill, thank you for your service.
Well, you stand and just have knee surgery.
Okay, don't stand, please. Thank you for your service to the county. And several months ago, when rumors started circulating about you and possible room manipulations with the CPA director, you came to me and you said they're untrue. I believe you. Bill is a man of his word, and when he told me that, I took it as fact. I encourage everybody to take that as fact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darren Ward Nolan. These are my two children. We used to live in Valley Springs, California. We sold a house there. We moved to Mountain Ranch, where we have been violated in every direction. I've called Mr. Lewinsky, who is our representative, and I've never been returned any phone call. And I've written letters, which I've never had a return on. Anyway, my problem has been, I can't get a building permit to put a roof over my kids' house, heads. Okay? We've been living in a tent for 3 years. Okay, as far as all this stuff we're talking about, it's a joke. Okay? I've pulled permits for a well. I've pulled permits for septic. I've pulled permits for shops. I've pulled permits for a house. Okay? They came out and red tagged my project because the building that I put up never got an inspection for its foundation. Well, when I called and they never came out and looked, and it was raining every week, and my trenches were full of mud, and it's a real pain to clean those things out, and there's already steel in them, I finally went and took pictures and went ahead and poured. So anyway, I built the building, because I had to. I pulled a second set of permits for a well and a septic. They never came out, and when they did come out for my well permit, they said, oh, that's too close to this county road. Well, I didn't need encroachment fees, an encroachment permit, because they couldn't prove to me that that was a county road, but somehow or another, the county's claiming it. I own 60 acres that has this road that comes into a dead end. Why would the county go on a private homestead and claim something they have no business on? It's beyond me. Well, it isn't beyond me. I've got some other factors in there. We got a cult that lives behind us that seems to pay a lot of people in this county to get their way. And when they want their way, they get it now. I put two posts out in front of my property to put a gate up. Okay? The county came out and stole them posts. There was never a gate put in. There was never anybody that tampered that. But I still had a right to have 2 posts on the side of that road, whether the county liked it or not. Okay, we went through litigation with our neighbors who supposedly got a prescriptive easement. Okay, and what they got was what they used, was about 10 feet. It ain't legal. You can't pass on it. I got the ability through this courtroom to fence both sides of that road. Now I got to spend $20,000 on fencing. To have you guys come back out and condemn the road, because with my 813, you can't, and this law that passed over the vote about stealing private property for private entities got shot down, so you can't steal my property anymore. And you can't stop me from fencing it, and you can't make it a legal access to my neighbors. And every one of my neighbors has their own legal access that was never, ever, ever. In order to build in this county, you have to have, first of all, proof that you own the property, and second of all, that you have an easement to it. And it's supposed to be developed with the building if you do. Okay, my neighbor has an $8 million home on 600 plus acres with 20,000 feet of metal building, 2 other houses on it, and he pays as much taxes as I do. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Anyway, I'm here to say that 2.5 years in plan check is a joke. And I don't know what to do about it because I can't get a permit, and I'm tired of living in a tent. And as far as the guy that just stood up here and commented on Claudino, I used to live across the street in a place like Campo Seco called Buckbourne Lane. And I watched this man that worked for the county and got paid by the county as a police officer pull up in front of this lady's house and sit there 40 hours, 20 hours a week. So he's not impressing me with whatever's going on here. I don't believe it. Because if he could get paid by the county.
No, highway patrol, that's the state.
Yeah, and I would really ask that people try to tone the personal attack machine down just a bit. You have all, over the course of the last number of months and years,
Your guys' decisions directly affect our lives.
brought a tremendous number of issues which this board has to grapple with. Setting a tone, setting a table for those kinds of decisions is something that might be the order of the day here. My hope is that we can refrain from denigrating people or process any further than we've already I invite you to that neighborhood, which has been suing each other for the better part of the last 2 years.
Well, now I have to sue the county because I brought out 30-ton of rock and put it alongside my road, just like the judge ordered me to be able to build a fence on. And the county came out with an officer and held me at gunpoint while they loaded all my rock and drove off with it. Did they push it off to the side of my property? Did they pile it? No, they took my property and left. And then last week, a county official from the building department showed up with a sheriff, and when I went out to talk to them, they both jumped in their car and ran. So what kind of politics is that? You can't even address the issues?
Thank you. And I see we have another speaker.
Oh, yeah.
Just one of those days.
Oh, yeah. I've been holding off a long time. We actually have missed you.
Thanks for coming today.
My name is Frank Ginger, and I'm here because of a handicap issue. In Sage Mart, this transit bus line think they can park wherever they want, and about 20 times they blocked me. I have did everything humanly possible, all being nice, and told them not to do that, and they keep doing it. I've called the sheriff's department. I've taken pictures. One of the ladies was so blatant that she blocked me into the handicap, went in the store and did her shopping. One of the neighbors had to go get her out of there. The only thing I'm asking, that's against the law. And she's done it. The drivers all do it. There's a red line, and they all go 10 feet past it. Now, I gone to the sheriff. They say call the sheriff. By the time the sheriff gets out there, they're gone. I show them pictures of the buses blocking me, and they say the pictures are no good. I just want to know, what do you want me to do? I can be nice or I can be mean. I try to be nice. But it's against the law for them to block a handicap parking.
All right. I would hope that the person responsible for transit might be listening in on this broadcast.
That's why I'm here.
Public Works, I would suggest that you meet with the person responsible for public transit in the Public Works Department and ask that they issue instructions to all bus drivers to stay out of handicap red zones or any other place they're not.
On Saturday, they park in the walkway in between the two handicapped. You can't even get in the store when you got a wheelchair. I've seen it, but now I'm going to take pictures. I want something done. I really do.
Sir, I believe you straight up. I don't think we need pictures. What we need is for you to convey your complaint to the person responsible for public transit in the Public Works Department and make sure that that person follows through with instructions to the drivers.
Okay, thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board from the public on matters not on the agenda or not apparently?
I'm Diane Gray from the Calaveras County Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted to let you know that we had our economic summit on Friday, and most of you were there, and I think we can all consider it a big success. We had well over 167 people register in advance, and I think we had a lot of people show up that hadn't registered. And so we heard mostly all positive comments, and so I think we're really pleased with what came out of it. We had a meeting of the committee yesterday, and we kind of reviewed the results of the different sessions, and we've decided that the next step is that we will first publish a summary, which I will do, and then make that available to the public and everyone that attended. And then following that, we're going to have another meeting we're hoping for July 30th to develop a strategy, kind of for steps and how we move forward. So I just wanted to tell you that we're really pleased for you, and thank you for your support, and I just want to let you know where we stand with that.
Thank you. It was a superb event. A lot of good people showed, a lot of good dialogue. Anybody else wish to address the board?
Now, you know I didn't drive the hundreds of miles from Burson and just to stay home. Wouldn't be like it.
reminding us of that, Daryl. Thanks. Appreciate it. Now, will this be the last word in public comments, or would anybody else like to address the board under this agenda item? As I announced previously, item number 8 will be postponed, and the Mount Ranch Road Safety Improvement Project will be considered by this board next week on the 22nd in the morning. We will now move to a review of correspondence, reports, and various matters of concern. Let's start with Supervisor Trial.
I do not have anything to report.
Supervisor Thomas.
Okay, as I previously stated, I want to reemphasize the Prop 8 orientation sessions that will be occurring on August 6th at the Genuine Firehouse and August 13th at Copper Office Firehouse. This week, I intend to go to a legal access meeting this afternoon. I think it's at the library or college? Anybody know for sure? Anybody can? CalWorks? Okay. And that's going to be this afternoon, 2 o'clock or something like that. But that's all my board responsibilities this week.
Supervisor Callaway.
My board-appointed meetings are just Calaveras Public Power Authority. Wednesday, I will say the Visitor Bureau is having their series of getting to know the